Remember, in case you've forgotten, because I rarely mention it, we are a program mostly funded and supported by members who sign up at joinpakman.com. Consider yourself invited. Go to joinpakman.com. Grab a membership. Both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris had very solid appearances in interviews and press conferences over the weekend. I'm going to talk about it. Many of you have been saying, David, as important as it is to expose the insanity of Trump, now that we have a ticket, including not just the presidential nominee, but also a vice presidential nominee, let's highlight what they are doing and the contrast of sanity that they bring to the table. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Let's start with VP nominee Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris was interviewed by CNN's Dana Bash. This is one of the first major interviews that Kamala Harris did. And I know that the bar is so low because of Donald Trump and Mike Pence, but Kamala Harris was coherent. She met that low bar. She answered the questions she was asked. That's a higher bar for elected officials who often don't even answer the questions that they are asked. And she precisely and accurately expanded on each question to expose the pathetic failings of the Trump administration. She's not as far left as I am, Kamala Harris, but it would be a serious breath of fresh air just to have people who can speak and interact coherently in a position of power after the last 4 years. But Kamala Harris does more than that. She actually put on a clinic in terms of how to be interviewed and how to answer questions, not dodging, but answering and then doing more. So we're going to look at a few clips of this, and the context I would be thinking about as you watch. The one I was thinking about is, how is Mike Pence going to handle Kamala Harris during the upcoming debate? And I'm going to tell you a little bit later on when that debate will be happening and sort of the details of it. First clip, Dana Bash asks whether the economic recovery, albeit slow, is a threat to Biden-Harris, because as the economy improves, it could pull people back over to Donald Trump. And Kamala Harris very quickly gets to the heart of the issue, which is, this is a pandemic. You can't just go around sacrificing whatever or whoever you need to in order to temporarily improve jobs numbers. Take a look at her answer.
On the economy, we have new jobs numbers out at the end of the week, show that unemployment is at 8.4%. And not great, but about where President Obama had it in 2012. And so my question is, are you worried, despite the fact that it's, again, not great, that things are coming back to the point where Donald Trump could have more meat on the bone for his economic argument, that it's coming back?
Listen, I want the American people to be able to work. I want that we have jobs that are filled by the hardworking people who want to work and want to have the dignity that comes with good work. But there is no question that Donald Trump has been an abject failure and incompetent when it comes to addressing the severe job loss that has happened as a result of the pandemic, because he has failed to address the pandemic itself. And when we look at this path, hopefully at some point to recovery, his perspective cannot be our perspective, because his perspective for too long is to talk about how well the economy is doing based on how rich people are doing. We need to talk about how the economy is doing based on how working people are doing. And right now, working people are suffering. People are standing or sitting in their cars in food lines for hours.
What I like about this is that Kamala Harris won't allow the conversation to simply be about the unemployment rate is now coming down, or stocks are up, or we are getting jobs back that we lost. She points out that's garbage. It ignores why we are here. And that's the big picture that Kamala Harris, I hope, is going to be able to utilize and expose during the debate with Mike Pence. So if she does this with the Pence debate, anytime that Mike Pence points out, August saw some of the best new jobs numbers, she needs to point out not only is a partial recovery of what we lost not that good, all of it is much worse because of the failed handling of coronavirus. Then the topic that comes up is foreign interference. And I like what Kamala Harris does here in that she is asked about Russia. Do you believe Russia's meddling? And we know that there are some people who reject that idea, despite the fact that Mueller confirmed it The Senate Select Report confirmed, okay, et cetera. There are some people who have sort of like a visceral reaction anytime sometimes mentions Russia. They think it's a conspiracy theory. And I like what Kamala Harris does, which she acknowledges that, of course, Russia's doing this, but she immediately points to the domestic voter suppression that the Trump administration is engaged in and won't allow the story or the question to only be, do you believe Russia or not? She knows that just dealing with that could be a turnoff to some viewers. And she says Trump is suppressing the vote. Take a look at this.
Russia.
Yeah.
The Department of Homeland Security bulletin said that Russia is trying to amplify claims that mail-in voting will lead to widespread voting fraud and undermine the public's trust in the upcoming election. Are you worried that Russian interference could cost you the election?
I am clear that Russia interfered in the election of President of the United States in 2016. I serve on the Senate Intelligence Committee. We have published detailed reports about exactly what we believe happened. And I do believe that there will be foreign interference in the 2020 election and that Russia will be at the front of the line.
Could it cost you the White House?
Theoretically, of course. Yes.
And that's based on what you're hearing publicly, or you mentioned you're on the Senate Intelligence Committee.
Listen, let me just tell you something. We have to be a realist, and I'm a realist about it. Joe's a realist about it. We have classic voter suppression at play in this election coming up, where after the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act with Shelby v. Holder in 2013, dozens of states passed laws that were designed to suppress the black vote, to suppress students from voting, to suppress our indigenous people from voting, so much so that in North Carolina, a court of appeals said the law was passed with surgical precision to get in the way of black voters from voting.
This is a good focus point. This is a smart thing to focus on, because the idea of the current administration suppressing the vote is going to be much more universally compelling than an adjudication of to what degree do you believe Russia is doing this or doing that. And what I really like about this interview is Kamala Harris answers every question. She doesn't dodge the question, but then she expands with proper context. It's classic interview and media training. Answer the question and then expand the framing. Barack Obama was excellent at doing this. On the first question about the economy, notice she was asked, what about these improving job numbers? And she said, well, improving relative to the worst numbers we've ever had, and overall much worse because of Trump's failed response. That's how you answer a question. Here, do you believe Russian meddling? Yeah, I believe Russia will meddle. And this is way bigger because we've got domestic voter suppression, purging of voters in disproportionately black areas, and on and on. This is how you actually deal with issues in interviews. Now, one more clip, and I encourage you to check out the full interview. Kamala Harris on whether she would trust a coronavirus vaccine endorsed by Donald Trump. This is crucial. We know that Trump's CDC sent out a letter saying, be ready for a vaccine at the end of October or early November. She has to be careful here. Kamala Harris does. Because anytime you say you won't trust a vaccine, you're starting to dabble in maybe being associated with anti-vaxxerism. And that's not what this is about. This is not about, do we trust vaccines in general? Do vaccines work in general? It's, is Trump, for political reasons, going to try to force something that's just not yet ready? Kamala Harris does a perfect job of refocusing the question.
Promised a coronavirus vaccine by the end of the year or maybe sooner. Would you trust that vaccine?
I think that we have learned since this pandemic started, but really before that, that there's very little that we can trust that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth. From the beginning of this pandemic, he has called it a hoax. He has muzzled the public health experts. He has minimized the seriousness of it. He has created false expectations for the American people and American families, even though if he had listened to the scientists and the experts, he would have understood the gravity of it and the power that he as President of the United States has to actually save lives. And none of those were his priorities. His priority was to do whatever he thought was politically expedient. And no, I would not trust his word. I would trust the word of public health experts and scientists, but not Donald Trump.
This is really a clinic on how to answer. It's not, I do or don't trust the vaccine. It's, I don't make a decision on whether the vaccine is okay on Trump's word, because Trump is unreliable. It's not about vaccines being the problem and getting into maybe, oh, is she maybe against vaccines? No, it's about, I don't trust Trump's word on anything. And as a media literacy person, as a fan of the techniques of interviewing and being interviewed, this is really well done by Kamala Harris. I am very much looking forward to the VP debate, which we'll talk about a little bit later. One of our sponsors today is Vincero Watches, and they're giving you up to 30% off everything in their store when you go to davidpakman.com/watch. If you're looking for an awesome way to update your look, the perfect way to do it is with an elegant, high-quality wristwatch. When there's a company like Vincero, there is no reason to go spending thousands of dollars on a watch. Vincero is an American company that's made it possible to own an excellent watch without breaking the bank. All of their watches are masterfully built with high-end materials, but they're all in the range of about $150 to $250. I just got a watch from their Icon Automatic collection. The one I got is in gunmetal and slate blue. I love the look. It's sleek, classy. It's clear that a lot of careful craftsmanship went into the design. It is definitely my new favorite watch. You'll get up to 30% off everything in their store when you go to davidpakman.com/watch. I've put the link right underneath this video.